This is Coordinator's Corner, presented by JCW, the Burger Boys.
Hello once again, Cougar Nation. Welcome back inside Studio B at the BYU Broadcasting Building here in beautiful Provo, Utah for our Week 8 edition of the Coordinator's Corner. It's our weekly BYU football sit-down with the Cougars coordinating coaches. Coming up on today's broadcast, we will look back at one of the wildest wins in the history of BYU football, last Friday night's 38-35 heartstopper over the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And to help us do that, we'll today be visiting with BYU defensive coordinator Jay Hill and offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. Let's get right into our first half hour of the show as we welcome in BYU's DC safeties coach and associate head coach, Jay Hill. Coach Hill, good to see you once again.
Yep, great to be with you.
Wow. I want to get into the game, which we will do, but the game night environment at LaVell Edwards Stadium now seems to get better and better, and sometimes even some surprises. I don't know how much you were able to pay attention to the drone show, for example, but it's hard to miss.
Well, I've seen a lot of pictures of it since. We heard about it before the game, and it was pretty spectacular. We didn't have a great angle at it, but when you could see it, it was pretty special.
It was awesome. Great night. All right, Oklahoma State. They came in on a 3-game slide, but that was an offense that came back almost entirely intact from the year before, personnel-wise. That team played for the Big 12 title. You saw them up close. That was a team that was 3-3, but scary.
Well, they were scary. They had beaten a really good Arkansas team earlier in the year. They'd beat South Dakota State well, and South Dakota State had just won a national championship in the FCS level. They were scary. They got one of the best running backs in the country. They got one of the best receivers in the country. Mm-hmm. The quarterback was back. The whole offensive line was back. We need to play better than we did, but to get a win against that team was huge.
Did you anticipate the starting quarterback change to Rangel, and how did you hope to play him coming in?
Well, we had heard that he was going to be the starter. I kind of figured if anything went wrong, they were going to go right back to Bowman, and they did, obviously, with the injury. But they got a very veteran quarterback that stepped back in there, and he'd played high-level football in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. And so it really didn't matter to us who the quarterback was. We were going to have to be ready for their best shot.
Okay, yeah, the running back you mentioned, Ollie Gordon, had not had the kind of season that he put together last season to this point, but he's still Ollie Gordon. And as we get into the game, we saw Ollie Gordon get loose on Oklahoma State's very first possession of the game. He looked good.
Well, he looked good. The guy ran for 1,700 yards last year, led the nation in rushing, was probably the top running back NFL prospect coming back into this season. And unfortunately, we let him get out the gate early and get his momentum rolling because we should have bottled him up better than we did. The first big run he gets is a misalignment right here, and he spits through there, and we miss the tackle, and obviously you get to see how big and fast he is. But yeah, you got to give them credit. They came out with a really good game plan. They got him rolling again, which they needed to do to save their season.
While Rangel was healthy in this game, he was a handful in the run game himself. Your one sack of the night came early from Jack Kelly. He tracked down Rangel for an early 3-and-out in this one.
Well, that was a huge play. You know, to sack that quarterback is difficult. They'd only given up 3 sacks all season, so that was their 4th. They're really hard to get to. And right here, obviously, you see us get him spilled down. Jack does a great job running him down, but they're hard to get sacks on.
For a guy his size, Jack's ability to pursue and chase down is pretty impressive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. He's very explosive. He's very fast. He's got a great knack at rushing the passer. So, I mean, obviously that was a huge play in this game.
All right, 7-7 ball game after 1 quarter of play. The second play of the second quarter, and Tanner Wall picks off his second pass in as many weeks.
Yeah, 2 games, two picks. This was such a huge deal. We returned all the way to the 1-yard line. I thought that there for a second he was going to get in, but anyway, this ends up being a huge play in the game.
A bit of an overthrow?
Yeah, just a little bit of an overthrow, and that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to take away his underneath windows and just make him put a little more loft on the ball, which he did right there, and it ended up being another interception for us.
And a short field. It's kind of been the routine for BYU this year. The defense gets the ball back, and the offense cashes in, and L.J. Martin, a 1-yard touchdown right after the INT. This has been a theme for this year's team, hasn't it?
Well, the offense has done a phenomenal job with their short fields of going down and scoring touchdowns. I think they've done that all year. you got to give them a ton of credit. They found a way to get in the end zone with those fields.
And LJ Martin, great to have him back and looking like the LJ of old for sure. OSU scored touchdowns on its next 2 possessions, taking a 21-14 lead. And on the second TD drive, Garrett Rangel was injured after a long run, and then his night was done. Did you know that he had gotten hurt on the play, and how soon was it till you sensed that he wouldn't be back?
Yeah, it was pretty quickly that we got word up in the box that he was out. And again, I don't know that that really affected the team too much because they went right back to their starter who had started all the other games and won the Big 12 or played for the Big 12 championship last year with Bowman. So I just don't know that there was much change for what we expected from them. This is another missed assignment that we need to play much better. Anyway, bottom line, that was a dynamic that we needed to play better going into this game, and we knew that they were going to run 13 more than they did.
Yeah, that was my thought. Was when you thought they'd make the change, did you expect more of that from them?
We did, absolutely. We expected that more.
Okay, so Alan Bowman was back in at quarterback, and this is a guy you were very familiar with from last year, and he's had a long career.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback, right? He's thrown for a lot of yards this year already. He's been very efficient at times this year. I was really questioning whether they would make the change when we heard that they were going to, just because he had had so much success in his career. But yeah, putting him back in was just like throwing in your starter. So. And
he finished off that touchdown drive to make it 21-14 at the break. What were you hoping to fine tune at halftime, going down 7?
Well, the last 2 games we just haven't played as clean as we were in other games this year. The run defense was shaky at times, as you saw in those 2 big runs. We did some good things in the pass game early in the first half, but the reality was they were in so many 3rd and shorts that we weren't really able to take advantage of our pass defense like we have in other games. We need to do a better job of just shoring up the run defense.
Even though BYU's been really good on short weeks, it was still a short week for you guys, and they were coming off a bye. Do you factor any of that into how the game went on Saturday?
A lot of it. You know, when you're on a short week and they've had an extra week to prepare for you, and Mike Gundy was 8-1 in his previous 9 games coming off bye weeks. I mean, that guy and that staff, those guys have been together for a long time. They know how to prepare on bye weeks. They did a great job again this week. And we outlasted them on something. It was a hungry team. They were well prepared. I thought their schemes were good for what we were doing. You got to give Oklahoma State a ton of credit. They were very prepared to come in here and play well.
All right, they played well enough to lead by 7 at the break, and it's time for our first break. And as we head to this short intermission, a reminder to join Dave McCann and former Cougars Blaine Fowler and David Nixon tomorrow night. Brand new episode of After Further Review. They'll break down the film from BYU's win against Oklahoma State. Look ahead to UCF this week. That's tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern on the BYUtv app and ESPN+. When we return, more with the BYU defensive coordinator, Jay Hill, as the Coordinator's Corner continues. We are brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys.
Coordinator's Corner is presented by JCW's The Burger Boys and Intermountain Health, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
And we are back on the Coordinator's Corner. BYU now 7-0 on the season, 4-0 in the Big 12 after Friday night's 38-35 home win over Oklahoma State. Cougs now 11th in the AP poll. BYU next plays on Saturday at UCF. It'll be a matinee, 3:30 Eastern, 1:30 Mountain. The Knights losing at Iowa State. Same score, by the way, 38-35 on Saturday night. Continuing our conversation now with BYU defensive coordinator, safeties coach, and associate head coach Jay Hill. We ended our last segment with BYU trailing Oklahoma State 21-14 at halftime. In a game BYU won by 3, the fact that Cowboys miss a field goal at the end of a long, kind of time-consuming drive to open the second half, that turned out to loom pretty large in the end. Great to get out of a possession like that with no points allowed.
Well, that's one thing that our defense has done a great job of throughout the year, is getting out of critical drives or having missed field goals or getting timely turnovers. that's kind of been some of our strength, and it showed up there.
And again, in a game you win by 3, they don't score 3, and it's pretty big. Big third quarter, though, for BYU. You outscored the Pokes 14-0 in that third quarter, and the scores came in quick succession, sandwiching a Tommy Prassas interception. His first pick of the season and his career was a good one.
Oh, it was a huge one, and he's made huge plays for us, like he did in the K-State game on the scoop and score. This interception was very timely. He's played well. And Fale Satawala also played well. Those young freshmen are going to make a lot of plays for BYU through the next coming years.
Makes a nice catch and does a great job making sure it never hits the ground too here.
Yep, great job. And phenomenal turnover, another short field for the offense, and they go right down and score. And I mean, just a huge deal for him and the defense.
You mentioned Fale. You got 2 true freshmen here getting meaningful reps. What do you see for these 2 guys moving forward as Cougars?
Well, I just think their futures are so bright. We're trying to get them caught up to speed to playing these Big 12 games where they're so young in the defense, but they've done a great job of learning it, and they're doing a good job when they get their reps.
Second takeaway for Tommy on the year. You mentioned the scoop and score. He becomes, by the way, on that in the Oklahoma State game, the 10th different player with an interception this year. That's 12 picks from 10 guys.
That's pretty special that those guys are distributing them the way they are. Now we need some multiple guys. We need guys to get multiple picks. I've been happy with the pass defense throughout the year. The 2 interceptions in this game was huge because they hadn't thrown a lot of them going into it. Anyway, bottom line, we continue to make big plays on defense. That's been a huge, positive for us this year.
Yeah, your multiple guys right now are Tanner Wall with 2, Jacob Robinson with 2, then a bunch of guys with 1 each to again spread it around. And they've come from all 3 levels, right? You've had D-line picks, you've had linebacker picks, you've had secondary picks.
Well, and again, I think that's part, doing a good job of confusing quarterbacks and what they're throwing into. That's a good job of pass rush, getting after quarterbacks and throwing into looks they don't want to. And the backers doing a good job with their drops. So I think all 3 groups are very important to, those interceptions we've been getting.
With the touchdown that came after the Tommy INT, BYU's now scored 69 points off of 16 takeaways. Opponents have only 10 points off of 10 takeaways. A plus 59 in points off of turnovers. That's a significant differential.
Well, that's a huge reason why we're 7-0 right now, is we've been getting turnovers. The offense has been taking advantage of them. And then when we've had the flip side of those turnovers, the defense has done a good job getting out of those drives.
POTO, points off of turnovers. It can be a decisive thing. Again, it's one thing to take the ball away, but to have the offense do what they've been doing has been, again, a great theme for this team this year.
Oh, huge. They've done a phenomenal job.
By the way, both picks on Friday night came from your safeties, Wall and Prassas. A little bit more about your safety room, because you really do play pretty much everybody.
Well, we play a lot of guys. I told you last year we started 6 different guys that all came back this year. You add 2 freshmen to the group, and it's a deep group. I would like to see some separation occur in that strong safety position, just where we need one of those guys to start playing at an all-conference caliber level. There's been hot and cold throughout that group, and we need someone to step up and really take that over.
But you do like the depth, right?
The depth is great, and those guys have played really well in spurts and done some great things. That group needed to play better on Saturday, the strong safety group.
Okay. After OSU scored a touchdown to open the fourth quarter, we had ourselves a 28-28 ball game. A Will Ferrin field goal, 31-28 BYU. But then OSU took the ball. They went 17 plays, 76 yards, 8:22 off the clock. They got 3 third downs. They got a couple of fourths. They score the touchdown, takes the late lead. But near the end of the drive, you're taking a timeout as a team to save yourself enough time for what you hope is going to be a game-winning drive if you needed it, and it turns out you did. There was a bit of a dance there as to what to do with the clock there late, wasn't there?
Well, I thought Kalani did a great job managing the clock and just trying to get us an opportunity to go down and score if they did. I thought he did a great job taking that timeout. I'm disappointed in that last drive. We had 3 or 4 real critical, easy opportunities to get out of that drive. Didn't execute coverage on a couple of the ones that we had opportunities to. Here's one of them where we had checked the play on that one, and one of the corner on the far side didn't hear it or see the check. So
they did do a nice job, again, keeping their drive alive. And again, 8:22, I think it's your longest drive of the year against you this year.
Yeah, we've done a good job where offenses have taken those long drives. For the most part, we found a way out of those throughout the year. Here's another one where if we just execute the way we had in that particular coverage the way we had earlier in the game, we get out of it. But again, give Oklahoma State a ton of credit. They got good players, they got good scheme, and they came in and made some plays on Saturday.
Sometimes, Coach, the game becomes real simple. Make a fourth down to stay alive, which BYU did on offense in that final drive, and score a touchdown to win the game. It's the only thing that would work, and it did. The offense did both of those things in the final minute. All you could do is sit there and watch as they had to go 75 yards to win the game.
Well, that's a sign of good offense, right? They make plays when they need to. They score touchdowns when they needed to. I'm super excited about just the way they finished the game, and I know Coach Roderick feels the same way, but they made plays when they needed to, and that's a sign of a good team.
Yeah, BYU had to, again, make the fourth down, did just enough to keep the chains moving, and Jake Retzloff ends up with a big run, and then, of course, this is the play that Cougar fans are going to remember for a long, long time. We've seen the booth cam reaction. What happens when that play is made? That's a fun room up there.
Well, unfortunately, you see a little bit of relief on my face because I was taking that last drive so hard. You can see it right here. But when we see this completion and I could see open field, you can see, unfortunately, there's a lot of relief on my face. The defense had done such a good job throughout the year getting out of those critical drives. And then on the flip side here, now the offense goes right down, scores the huge touchdown. Coach Roderick and the offensive staff and the players, they just deserve so much credit for what they pulled off in that game and how they played. And they've done a great job all year. Just opportunistic, critical scores when they needed to get it done. They've done a phenomenal job with that.
I love the having your back aspect of this team, because if the offense makes an occasional mistake, it seems like the defense is there to kind of mitigate the damage. It's gone back and forth all year that way.
It has. That's a sign of a good team, and we've mentioned that there's games, and I believe this strongly, that you're going to have to win 35-38 like we just did, and then there's going to be games like K-State or SMU where we had to hold them without a touchdown. And that's the sign of a good team, is that you do what you need to do to win, and that's why we're ranked where we're ranked and having the success we're having, because we play, for the most part, pretty complimentary football.
So after the last-hitter touchdown, you do have a couple of last snaps to defend still. There was 11 seconds left on the clock. What is the coaching before Oklahoma State takes the field for those last two snaps?
Well, we really had two different ways to play it. You can go into basically a Hail Mary prevent type defense, or just rush three in a different way that we do it. And I thought both times we had a lot of DBs in tight coverage. And then we forced the late check down here where they got to go into the lateral game. And I thought we did a pretty good job of pursuing the football and making plays and understanding what was going to occur here. So anyway, bottom line, great job finishing the game. The stadium was electric. You can see the excitement. There was a lot of relief on my part. And again, I can't give the offense enough credit just for the way they finished that game and the plays that they made. That was huge.
By the way, the last desperation play, the lateral play, does that ever get practiced in a setting to where, okay, it's going to be, or is it just pretty obviously football at that point?
I think it's pretty obvious football. We don't spend a lot of time on that. You might do it a couple times a year, but for the most part, someone's got to make a play. Don't leave your coverage too far, and just be ready to, tackle the guy when it's your guy catching the ball.
I think about these last few games at LaVell Edwards Stadium, and K-State was so phenomenal in its own way. And how do you top that? And then you have the way that last game ended on Saturday. These are memory-making nights here for this team.
Well, they are, and you throw Arizona in there too, where going into that game, the quarterback had played so good, and we made the huge plays in the Arizona game on both sides of the ball. And then the atmosphere at night in LaVell Edwards Stadium is phenomenal. The Rock, the fans, everybody just adds to that. Now the drone show makes it even better. It's such a phenomenal atmosphere. I believe the people are getting their bang for their buck for sure. And
you also believe that the crowd BYU puts in the stands has a competitive or tactical impact on the game at times?
Oh, it for sure does. We are a home field advantage, and playing in front of all those fans and as crazy as they get, and just how passionate they are for the game, they're a huge part to the way we play in that stadium.
Let's get some post-game honorees from Friday night now. Let's start with the defense Defensive Player of the Week, and we showed him already, but Tommy Prassas, the true freshman, gets the nod.
Yeah, that's huge. You know, in a game where not a lot of people played good, he made some huge plays. I thought he tackled much better, and he's deserving of this because his interception was a huge part of this game.
When did you first get wind of Tommy Prassas and his connection and journey to BYU?
Well, we knew about him going into his senior year. We knew a lot about him. He came to summer camp that summer, and I just loved him.
And you had just gotten here, I guess.
I did, yeah. But he came to camp. I knew a lot about him. I went and saw him in spring recruiting, and then when he came and I got to work him out in person at camp, he was just a no-brainer to me.
And then Special Teams Player of the Week, Coach Kelly Popinga identifying Ethan Slade this week on Special Teams.
Well, and that's a huge one because that's another guy coming out of the safety room, fired up for Ethan. He's as tough as they come. He's a football player. He understands the game, and so I can't be happier for him. This is a big deal.
All right, there we go. Those are our post-game honorees on defense and special teams. This upcoming Saturday, you can tune in to Cougar pregame live on BYU Radio, starting at 1:30 Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Mountain, as the Cougs get ready to visit Orlando and take on the Knights of UCF. As we go to break now, a reminder that dinner after the game at JCW's includes something for everybody, from burgers to wings, shakes to salads. JCW's, quality, and a lot of it in Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, and now Harriman. Coming up next, a look ahead to Saturday's game with Coach Jay Hill. You're in the Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by JCW's, the Burger Boys. Welcome back to the Coordinator's Corner, visiting with BYU Defensive Coordinator Jay Hill. After BYU's 38-35 home win over Oklahoma State this past Friday, BYU goes to 7-0, 4-0 Big 12. BYU and Iowa State tied atop the Big 12 at 4-0, both teams 7-0 as well, and the Cougs now ranked 11th in the AP. All right, next up for BYU, the UCF Knights. Let's look ahead to Saturday's matchup. It is sponsored by Intermountain Health, this preview, official medical provider for BYU Athletics. You see, UCF opened the season 3-0 like Oklahoma State did. The Cowboys lost 3 in a row. The Knights have now lost 4 in a row, but we saw Saturday night just how good a team they are because they could have and maybe should have beaten Iowa State on the road.
Well, this is a very good team now. Offensively speaking, not many people are running for 280 yards a game. They're going for 460 a game. The defense has a really good defensive line. It's a good football team. They've had their ups and downs with some turnovers and really untimely things like that. Really probably should have beat Iowa State on the road, a really good Iowa State team. So we got our work cut out for us. We're going to have a great week of preparation.
Really run heavy, 280 yards a game, third nationally in rush yards per game, and R.J. Harvey is the main guy, top 10 running back.
Yeah, he's a big-time running back. The quarterback did a great job of rushing it last week, and they have one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12, number 2. They've got weapons for sure. We're going to have to do a great job of tackling, and obviously as coaches we need to come up with a great scheme to stop this running attack.
7 is Harvey. The quarterback is new. Probably we thought when the season began you'd be seeing K.J. Jefferson, who you saw at Arkansas, but he's been replaced by Ja'Cory Brown. He ran for $154 on Saturday.
Well, and he's big and he's physical. He reminds me of the type quarterbacks that Gus Malzahn has won with in the past, and I think this kid's a really good weapon for him. He's running it good. He's got a strong arm, and he's got some weapons on the outside to throw to. So we've got our work cut out for us for sure. And
like with Oklahoma State, don't be fooled by the little slide they're on. They have lost 4 in a row, but dangerous team. Oh, dangerous team. You look at them, they've beaten some good teams this year. They've lost some close games in the Big 12 to really good teams. We're going to have to go in there and play our best football. I really believe that. And you like your early day routine. It'll be 3:30 mid-afternoon there, but an earlier game in your body clock. But you've had success this season. Just another road trip, another game. Yeah, we don't buy into that. It doesn't really matter. The kickoff time, you got to be ready to go. Whether it's at night or during the day, we got to do a great job of preparing the players, and the players got to do a good job of showing up. Okay, you're now in the back half of the season, Coach Hill. You're 1 game into your back half and haven't lost a game yet. As the record gets better and better, the pressure, you could say, increases. Yet, the theme from this year's team seems to be it's a 1-game statement. They're not looking too far afield. And would you say that's worked so far for this team? I think the record speaks for itself. Well, I challenged the defense a couple weeks ago that when we were coming off the bye week, we had 3 games in between the 2 byes. We needed to make it a 3-game season.
And I think they've done a good job of one game at a time. And now we got one game left in this 3-game season. We got to finish it off and go into the bye week 8-0. That's all that matters.
How eager are you to get back with your guys on defense with the meeting and then the first look today and just kind of getting after it?
Well, we got stuff to clean up, and we've played really good in spurts this year. We've got a lot of room for improvement, obviously, as we showed last week. And that's one of the most exciting things to me, is that we've played really good at times, but we got room to improve, and we need to get that done. As a coach, that's an exciting thing.
All right, well, good luck this week in prep, and we will see you in Orlando. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's Coach Jay Hill. Tomorrow night, you can join us for BYU football with Kalani Sitake as the coach and a special guest recap the Oklahoma State win with us and help us preview Saturday's showdown in Orlando. That's Tuesday nights, 8:30 Eastern on BYU TV's app and ESPN+. Coming up next, BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick as the Coordinator's Corner continues, brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys.